Yeah. Picture this, a supernatural western, a demonic biker, a flaming skull cruising through the desert listening to power ballads. It was messy, but it was sincere, and it was unintentionally hilarious at times. And for me, it worked. Well, at least the first time. Today we revisit Ghost Rider and Ghost Rider Spirit of Vengeance. This is Marvel In Memoriam.
With great power comes great responsibility.
What more could I lose?
I am the X-Man.
Avengers!
I love you 3000.
In the first movie, we meet Johnny Blaze, a stunt motorcyclist who makes a deal with Mephistopheles to save his father from cancer. The deal works, but at a cost. Johnny's father dies anyway, and Johnny forfeits his soul. Years later, Johnny is a world-famous daredevil, not to be confused with another superhero, haunted by the bargain he's made. When Mephisto's son Blackheart comes to Earth seeking the contract of San Venganza, a scroll containing 1,000 corrupted souls, Johnny is forced to become the Ghost Rider. By night, he transforms into a flaming skull demon bound to punish the wicked with the penance stare, forcing sinners to experience the pain they've inflicted on others. Along the way, he reconnects with childhood love Roxanne Simpson. He meets the mysterious caretaker, played by Sam Elliott, a former rider, and learns that vengeance is not justice, but it might be the only thing he has. The film culminates in a desert showdown against Blackheart. Johnny defeats him not with brute force, but by using the penance stare to overwhelm him with the souls he absorbed. And in the end, Johnny rejects Mephisto's offer to remove the curse. He chooses to remain the Ghost Rider. This movie had a long development cycle. Ghost Rider was in development hell, pun intended, throughout the 90s, bouncing between studios before landing at Sony after the success of early Marvel adaptations like Spider-Man. Nicolas Cage, who we all know is a very eccentric and original actor, was the perfect casting. The film leaned heavily into early 2000s CGI, which at the time was ambitious but now feels very much of its era. The flaming skull effects were groundbreaking in 2007, but today they have that pre-MCU digital sheen. Tonally, the film struggles a bit. It wants to be dark and gothic, but it also has early 2000s cheese baked into its DNA. The Eva Mendes romance feels like it wandered in from another movie. The Rock soundtrack dates it immediately. But I'm into that. And here's the thing, the first Ghost Rider has heart. It feels like a comic book, and it feels like a pulpy, supernatural western told through blockbuster sensibilities. It's awesome. And Sam Elliott as the other rider, the older rider, iconic. The movie wasn't critically loved, but it made solid box office returns, which led to a sequel. And that's where things change. 4 years later, we get Spirit of Vengeance. This time, Johnny Blaze is in Eastern Europe, hiding from the curse. He's more unstable, the rider is more feral, and the transformation is more violent. A covert religious sect recruits Johnny to protect a young boy named Danny, who is being hunted by Rourke, who's evidently a new interpretation of Mephisto, and who wants to use the child as a vessel. The rider in this film is less heroic and more chaotic. He laughs maniacally, he moves like a horror creature, the camera work is jittery and aggressive. Johnny eventually learns the boy is the devil's son, and the rider's fire transforms into blue flame, a purifying spirit of justice rather than vengeance. The film ends with Johnny embracing the rider's power, this time not as a curse, but as something closer to redemption. The sequel was meant to be a soft reboot. Sony wanted something edgier, more raw, less polished. Neville Dean and Taylor, the duo behind Crank, shot the film with handheld cameras and experimental rigs. The writer's movements were inspired by horror films, and the CGI was rougher but more aggressive. Nick Cage went even further into his eccentric performance style, delivering line readings that feel like he's in a completely different movie from everyone else. The problem? The film abandoned the mythic tone of the first movie in favor of chaotic energy. It feels smaller, it feels cheaper, and it feels disconnected from the grounded supernatural western vibe that made the first film work. Critically, it did worse. Financially, it underperformed, and that was the end of the live-action Ghost Rider era. Well, for now. Wink wink. Stay tuned. Now, why does the first movie work when the second doesn't? Well, for me, the first movie has clear mythology, it has a tragic arc, and the romance even works at times. But most importantly, the entire movie is grounded in its own mythos by Sam Elliott's writer. The second one is stylistically bold, but tonally exhausting. The first one feels like a comic book, but the second one feels like an experiment. Now, as always, if we're talking Marvel, we must assume doom. But first, mandatory spoiler warning. Spoilers. Spoilers. Click away if you don't want spoilers. If the spirit of vengeance exists, Doom would want it, but not to destroy it, to weaponize it. Ghost Rider's power is uniquely dangerous because it bypasses physical durability. The penance stare targets the soul, even gods feel it. So what happens if Doom studies the Rider? Well, he wouldn't want to try to overpower Johnny Blaze, he would research the spirit itself, the binding contract between Mephisto and the host. Doom has dealt with demons before. He's stolen power from Mephisto in the comics even. In fact, Doom has a very serious connection to Mephisto. In the comics, Victor Von Doom's mother, a Latvian sorceress looking for more power, sold her soul to Mephisto to try to gain more. This resulted in her death. In an attempt to make contact with his mother's spirit, which forever dwells in hell with Mephistopheles, Doom created a device that ultimately and literally blew up in his face, leaving him scarred. In disgrace, he fled. He wound up in Tibet, where he continued to hone his magical skills. It was there that he created his iron armor and donned his mask while it was still red hot from the forge. Now, it doesn't seem like coincidence that Doom has this comic book connection to Mephisto, and then we go and introduce Mephisto at the end of the new TV show Ironheart. So, if we're getting closer to Doomsday and we're introducing Mephisto, well, you connect the dots. If they decide to go that route with MCU Doom, it would make sense to include Ghost Rider in the story. Now, do I think that Ghost Rider is going to show up in Avengers Doomsday or Avengers Secret Wars? Yeah, I do. Industry scoopers Daniel RPK, Alex Perez, and My Time to Shine Hello have all talked about Ghost Rider recently. Daniel RPK reported that Marvel is planning a Ghost Rider project for the next saga and has teased his appearance in upcoming Avengers films, specifically noting discussions about bringing back Nick Cage as Johnny Blaze. Alex Perez from the Cosmic Circus claimed that Marvel Studios is planning to incorporate Nick Cage's Ghost Rider into Avengers Secret Wars. And My Time to Shine Hello also reported that Nick Cage is in active talks to reprise his role as Ghost Rider in an upcoming MCU project. So yeah, I think Ghost Rider's coming back. Hey, maybe they finally convinced Keanu Reeves. Ghost Rider exists in this strange pocket of Marvel history. It's not the MCU, Earth 616, it's not the Fox X-Men, Earth 10005, and it's not the Raimi Spider-Man, Earth 96283. I know, I'm a nerd. It's a flaming anomaly living alone on Earth 121347. I had to do it. The first film is flawed but earnest. The second film is bold but messy, and neither reached their full potential, but both proved something critical. Marvel could go supernatural, and that alone may have changed everything. This has been Marvel In Memoriam. If you like what you saw here today, feel free to like and subscribe, and we'll catch you in the next one. Peace!